So of those of you that do work with 3D PDFs, how many of those are using that in your supply chain right now? So I know Boeing, yes. Okay, a couple, good. Well, I'm glad not a lot of people raised your hands because this is going to be a basic presentation about 3D PDF, just kind of give you an introduction and how it can be used at a manufacturing company. First off, I'm going to start with just an agenda. We're going to go through what a 3D PDF is, how to create and control one. Very basic stuff. I'm not going to show you how to technically do it. You're not going to have to pull out your laptops and try to create one on the fly. Talk a little bit about the supply chain, and then we'll wrap it up at that point. So what is a 3D PDF? Well, almost that cool, and I think once Boeing gets to that point, we'll probably have something a little more similar to this. I'll start actually with what a 3D PDF is not. So it's not a CAD format. As Ken mentioned this morning, you have to have some source data behind it. So you're not going to be designing in 3D PDF. You're really going to be taking what your designers have created in CAD or other 3D formats and transforming that into the PDF. You don't really need specialized software, so this is something that a reader can do, and I'll show you that actually today. And also, it's not for everyone. So when you think about 3D PDFs and how cool it is, also consider your audience. You're not necessarily going to be sending this to everybody who has a need to look at a 3D model. Some people just need to see a representation, which is just a flat 2D image. So just consider where it's going. So what is a 3D PDF? It is kind of, more or less, a portable document format, right? So it's a container. You can have many embedded objects in this PDF. It's actually part of the PDF technology, so it's not its own thing. You don't have to go out and find a 3D PDF format. You can do it with the standard PDF. There's many types of files that you can embed in a PDF. You've probably worked with Word files, Excel files, text, images, whatever it is. And when you're sharing things like your engineering designs, you're sharing architectural plans, working with IT infrastructure projects, so doing hierarchies and things like that, you can bring in elements from Project, Visio, working with Excel tables, text, and so forth. So there are many standardized solutions out there for creating these and utilizing 3D PDFs. One of the examples I'll show you today is how a company takes engineering designs, puts them into 3D PDF, or puts them into a PDF as a 3D object, includes all of the engineering data, the ERP or the enterprise resource planning information, and then combines that to send it to their suppliers. 3D PDF also still utilizes all of your annotation. So having a 3D object inside a PDF, you can still annotate the objects. You can actually click in the 3D PDF and make a note about a specific part that's inside that model. So I'll go over that a little bit today. So this is what a 3D PDF looks like. Hot stuff. This was around 2005, I think 2004, 2003 is when 3D models ended up in Adobe PDF. And what you can see here is essentially what we're going to look at today is you have a turbine. So you have some text, you have a turbine, a model, and then you have a little control bar. And we'll go through that. It kind of looks about the same today as it did back then. We can embed text in this file. We can then share this with anybody who has Adobe Acrobat Reader. Not all technologies will work, so if you're trying it, like my iPad doesn't read 3D PDFs without a special application for it. So like Ken mentioned something about the standardizing across the industry. That's what we need to work on. So that's something to keep in mind. This is what that controller looks like. And I wanted to go through this a little bit just to give you a taste of what it's capable of. 3D navigation on the left. This is going to give you things like spinning the object, panning across the object. It's going to allow you to walk the scene. If you have any fly-through information, you want to show someone what it looks like flying through a particular part or a fuselage or a model in that space, you can do so and add that in there. You have default view, which just takes you home. You also have different views that you can define. So if you work with CAD, or your engineers working with CAD, they have views of those models. Those can be top-down, on the side could be extrapolated views. Those are all savable as kind of like a bookmark. So sort of what you know in PDF, creating an annotation or a set of bookmarks there, you can do that with this particular tree. The next part is the model tree. I'll get into that a little bit later. Shows all the parts and broken out. You can change perspective, you can animate, somebody can do a kind of a breakout of the part and how it assembles together, and they can include that information so you can hit the play button, and in that 3D PDF you're looking at it on that reader, you'll see the whole part assemble itself. So really great for the shop floor when you're talking about showing someone how to assemble a particular model that they've never seen before. You can get into some rendering options here. These are going to be kind of wireframe or sort of dot matrix look. I'll actually show you some of those in the 3D PDF that we've got today. And we can even create cross sections. So we can cut out and slice into that model, into the whole assembly or into individual parts, and kind of represent that on the screen so you can get a better view of what's going on inside the part. So creating 3D PDFs. I kind of wanted to cover this just for general knowledge. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. This is essentially you sort of need to ask yourself some questions. First off, what kind of files do you need to support? Are you going to be adding these Office files in there? Are you going to be doing CATIA? Are you going to be doing NX? Are you going to be doing Pro Engineer, AutoCAD? Whatever CAD format it is, you need to understand what it is you're going to be putting in there. Most CAD systems do have plugins for 3D PDF, but your mileage is going to vary depending on where you're going, and you'll want to have a look at a particular software vendor for that. Also, what about the data that you're going to be putting into it? Is this going to be combined data from a bill of material? Is it going to be coming from analytics? Is it going to be something you need to include in terms of material costing or other itemized data sets? That is all going to be something that you have to consider when creating these PDFs with 3D models in them. Do you have a small group of document managers or just a couple of people that are going to be generating these things, sending them out to your supply chain? Or is it going to be more of a server-based solution? You want to have complete control. So the small group, you're going to have limited use cases, 1 or 2 designers doing this. No need to automate or have document control. They have their jobs. They know what they're doing. Easy to double check when there's only a few models going through a week. But when you have a larger footprint and you need to have servers behind this to generate hundreds of thousands of these documents at a time, you're pulling data automatically from your CAD system. You're pulling data from an ERP or a PLM system, so SAP or Teamcenter, Oracle, or any of those types of larger enterprise applications. So you might also find yourself needing an automated solution when you want to ensure compliance, reliability with the file, that you're always generating the same thing every time, that it looks the same, that it contains the correct information based on the project that you're working on, or based on what your supplier needs, or even when you're sending this out to your customers. What do your customers need in this 3D PDF? Plus it runs in the background, so automated solutions are great. That's my world. I'm a software publisher. We do automated solutions for collecting information, generating these 3D PDFs with partners like ProStep and with Tetra 4D, and then sending these out to the supply chain. Okay, so I do want to talk a little bit about the supply chain today. This is a very basic perspective of a supply chain. This is the very beginning of before the supply chain even starts. What we're looking at here is design. So this is what your designers go through every day. They're creating a document, they're drafting whatever it is, the parts that they need to do. They're then going through a review process, usually, hopefully, they're going through a review process. And in that review process, there's some markup going on in there. There's some notes that are being added to these CAD models, or even printed pictures. I believe that people still redline with red pencil, and that's going back into the design process. So this is essentially what you have from a PLM system. You have a product lifecycle management. It takes the design document through this process. We have this essentially controlled in an environment, hopefully, and through the green arrow, we end up with a release. So we have a sign-off, and hopefully at that point, nobody touches the document anymore. That's the idea of PLM, with the design. So drawings are drafted, they're reviewed, edits are made as necessary, and then eventually it ends up in a PDF format, hopefully. Something that's then saved in your document management system or in a vault somewhere where nobody can edit or replace the file on you. So some of the questions you might ask yourself when you're looking at when will I do 3D PDF, you'll want to find out First, when is it relevant? Is it relevant to the designers? Probably not. They already have these CAD systems. They can look at them a lot more in detail. Is it relevant in a review process? Maybe. You're not having to purchase CAD licenses for reviewers to simply open the file, or using viewers to just open the file and then have no further control of the actual model. So with 3D PDF, you get the option of putting that model into a PDF, a portable format, adding a bill of material to it, letting the review person click through, and they can add notes and markups and have a real good look at the file without having to open up a hefty application for it. All right, now when we're talking about supply chain, so with supply chain and distribution of these documents, we're creating these things. They're already approved, so we did that all inside our factory. We approve these documents. We then send them out to our vendors and our customers. Sometimes they want to mark things up, so they're going to have just like the reviewer, and they're going to have a very similar interface to what your reviewer has, and they're going to see these models. They're going to see all the bill of materials, the document information, whatever came out of your ERP or PLM system, and they're going to be able to also make notes. And then once they've done that, they save that PDF, and they'll send it back to you. So that's the beauty of it, is you've sent them a universal format that you then allow them to make some collaborative changes on, to then receive that information back so that you can further redesign or maybe go into production with. Okay? One key, again, and I think I've mentioned this, is prepare your recipients. Not all PDFs are created equal, as mentioned before, and a lot of these PDFs should work in standard, but depends on how you create them. So if you create them in a standard and you send them out, Adobe Reader with JavaScript should be able to cover it. But if not, if they're opening it on iPads or other systems, or doing just a preview mode, you may not see some of these things. You can develop sort of web views for this. The web viewer will work with this in most cases, the web reader. So you can also support an intranet-based or an extranet-based like web portal. So you can show these documents out there to your suppliers without them having to receive a file to begin with. Okay, so I'll get into the example here. This is Rochling, one of the customers that works with us on generating these. They're an automotive manufacturer. Actually, they do high-tech plastics for automotive. They essentially have documents spread across many business units. They needed to bring all this together into one easy-to-share file, like I described. And these are details from engineering designs, material structures, and assemblies, so they can bring this all into the one PDF. These are generated at different life cycle stages, so as I mentioned before, you might have it in review, in final release, maybe in an archive. You have an additional 3D PDF generated with the model, with other information, historical information about when it was used, who signed off on it. This is all good for your compliance and regulatory control. And this is what it looks like. So I'm going to get into a real example, hopefully. But on the left side, you see the actual part with the control bar. We see that 3D space will be able to control that. The right panels are built from the various business information. So we have document information at the top. We have the bill of materials list in the middle there. And then we have the properties of each item on the bottom right. So I will jump right into that. Oop. Let's see. Nope. Let's see if I can get back into full screen again. Maybe. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So here we have the actual part. And what we can do with this, there's quite a lot in the example. We can move this around, hopefully. So we can rotate this part all we like. When we click on any of these items over here, they're highlighted. So you get all this information on the right came from the PLM system or the ERP system. So we have, as far as the control, we can just click and it highlights these objects. We can also look at the control bar again, and we can check out the structure in this document. So it'll load, hopefully. Maybe. It's not loading. Okay. Well, there is a structure in there, and that allows you to see what's actually in the file. Some of the more interesting things. Let's see if I can get this back here. Let's do the structure again. There it is, that's better. So we see here the actual structure of the items. We can see kind of what the names are. If we need to, we can isolate these. And if we want to, we can also create notes on this. So as going through this, we can add a 3D comment. And we can add 3D comments to specific parts. And you can add this in the 3D space. So we can add some notes in there. Going through, oops, let's give you the wheel of the beach ball of death. Oh, there it is. Interesting. Okay. Well, it seems to have frozen up on me. So the cross-section is another thing that you can do. This will essentially slice over the 3D PDF. We can control it here. We can add other stamps and watermarks to it. So if you have annotation that you want to come up with and you can, oh, there was a problem. Okay. Yep. Okay. I think my remote control is going away. There it goes. The comment. Okay. I just wanted to show you the cross-section is really cool. You can get right into it. And with the cross-section, we can also change what we're looking at. So this is the properties of that cross-section. We want to change how far we're actually cutting into that pane. We can change the tilt of it. And once we've created this cross-section on here, it also stays highlighted like that. So we can do many different things with this 3D PDF. We can even render the part in different types. So here we might have like a wireframe. So the part that I had highlighted is actually shown in more of a wireframe format. So there's a lot of different possibilities with this. Essentially, you're taking the best parts of viewing a CAD file, which you might have in a viewer, you're stuffing it into a PDF, and you're adding rich contextual information based on your PLM or your ERP data, your business data, to the side of it. This can also be done for other businesses, enterprises, working with animation. You might have a list of the animations on the side that people can play through. So it's not just for engineering and design. This is really for anything you can imagine with 3D PDF. Okay. So that is really my presentation. I don't know if I have, this is really the rest of it. So since 3D PDF is really just an extension of an existing PDF format, pretty easy to use. Anyone within your teams can work on it. And just check with your software, your IT departments, see what you're capable of. Generally, Adobe Acrobat Pro with a plug-in would be able to create these manually. So pretty straightforward to get started, not too expensive to get into this realm of working with 3D models. Okay. Here are a couple of resources just to get you started. If you're interacting, so if you want to find out how to work with 3D PDFs, just Google that term, interacting with 3D PDF. If you're trying to add models to a 3D or a PDF and take those 3D models in there, just Google that. We work with 3D PDFs in the supply chain, work with ProStep, one of our partners for that. And this is who we are. So I'll leave it here. Any questions?
So the 3D PDF from the CAD model, how does it get translated to that? Is there translated in between the CAD and the 3D PDF that shows up in this work instructions?
It's going to depend on the CAD program. So they all have plugins of some kind, or you go through an automation solution where the CAD application is used to generate those 3D PDFs, and the additional information is an added sort of like an XML where the clickable links to bill of materials and all those items can be referenced inside that 3D PDF. So it's going to be per publisher for the most part. Yeah. Or you use Adobe Reader and you can use the PRC format if you can export to that. Or even, I believe JT, you can, or STEP was the other model, STEP, yeah, STEP. Yeah, right.
It doesn't lose any parametric relationship.
Right, right. Any other questions? Good. Okay. Well, I think I'm finished a few minutes early, so thanks for sticking it out. Appreciate the time.